Over the past couple of weeks, we've gotten a ton of new animals out here on the ranch, and I thought today would be a good day to go around, check on all the new animals, but then also visit some of the familiar faces that you guys haven't seen in a while. That's what we're doing today on Farmer Tyler Ranch. We got our 3 pigs here about maybe 2 weeks ago, and so far they've been doing really well. There's really nothing much to report on them, which is good because a lot of times with livestock, no news is good news. Right now I'm working on making a waller here in the pen, which they're going to need that to stay cool, and they're also going to need it so that they can kind of coat themselves in mud, which will act as sunscreen. Now the nice thing about this pen is that it's pretty much in the shade all day long. In fact, that's why I put it here. So heat stress isn't a huge issue for these guys, but I always like to give them the option. As for how they're eating, they seem to be eating just fine, and to look at them, they're all pretty plump, and I don't see any rib or anything on them, which is definitely good at this age. But it's actually been kind of difficult to say exactly how much they're eating because every time I fill up their feeder, the chickens swarm over here and they take their share. So I don't know how much the chickens are eating compared to how much the pigs are eating, but you know, the way I figure it, the chickens got to eat too, and so far everybody seems to be getting along all right. It's looking like the chickens have more or less cleared out of here, so now's going to be a really good time to feed these pigs. So I'm going to mix up a batch, and we'll see if they're interested in it. Just wanted to show you guys real quick. No sooner did I finish mixing up this batch of feed, and look who has shown up. So I think that they hear me getting in that barrel and they can hear me mixing everything together, and I guess anybody that says chickens are stupid, well, they ain't that stupid. All right, the pigs are pretty well taken care of now, and fortunately we're mostly feeding pigs right now, not chickens, although I think they got a couple bites, but that's fine. Anyway, let's walk into the shop here and I will show you guys what just showed up in the mail last week. Towards the end of last week, my 50 meat birds that I ordered almost 2 months ago finally showed up. I had not heard anything from the hatchery. I didn't know when the expected ship date was. I didn't even know if they received my order. So when these guys showed up, it was actually quite a surprise. Now, I say that I didn't really know they were coming, but to be fair, after I went back and looked through my voicemail after I received this shipment, I noticed that I did in fact miss a call from Minnesota, and they did leave me a message that I never listened to. And sure enough, that was the hatchery telling me that these guys were on their way. So this was my fault. I should have been more on the ball, but everything worked out fine because Mrs. FTR was at home and she was able to run down to the post office to get these guys. More or less, this brooder was set up because I had the last batch in there. So I had to move them out, get everything cleaned up before I could put the new ones in. So it wasn't a huge deal, but it was just sort of unexpected and a little bit frantic trying to get everything done. Like I said before, I ordered 50 of these Cornish cross, and as is pretty typical, the hatchery sent me a couple of extra. So I think I got 52 altogether in the box, but unfortunately one of those little guys didn't make it through shipping. So as for now, we've got 51 in here and everybody looks pretty good, but I can't really expect them all to make it to harvest. That just seems really uncommon for this breed of chicken. I'm sure we'll lose a few more, but for now, everybody's looking fine. Regular viewers of the channel might remember that we did have another batch of chicks in this brooder, if we want to call it that. And those guys have not been harvested yet, but they were outgrowing this. There just really wasn't enough room in there for them anymore. Plus, I needed it for the new chicks, so I had to move them. Let's go take a look at them and see how they're doing. I decided to just go in the pen and grab one of the Cornish cross from the original batch, just because it's kind of hard to film in there. But we got this little hen here, and I would say she's a pretty good representation, maybe a little bit on the smaller side of what that group looks like. So I would say that we still got a few more weeks here before these guys are ready to go. But in the meantime, everything seems to be going well. They're definitely eating a lot, which is good. That's what we want them to do. That's how they gain that weight so good. So other than that, it's just a couple more weeks, I think. Then we'll be ready. As long as we're here at the house, I thought we could check in with this year's bottle calf, just because I don't know how much longer she's going to be here. You guys can see she has grown quite well, and I think that we are maybe about time to think about weaning off of the bottle, and maybe about time to think about going to the ranch, because she's really starting to outgrow our backyard. And what was once sort of a cute thing, having a calf in your backyard, is now kind of becoming a nuisance in a lot of ways. So really, she doesn't want to be back here by herself, and we spend time with her when we can, but the reality is that she'll be a lot happier out there with the other calves and cows on that green grass. I think that's gonna pretty well do it over here at the house. So let's head over to the ranch, check on the bulls and the cows, see how everybody's doing over there. And I think, yeah, it's time for them to change pastures. So we'll put them on some fresh grass and see how everybody's doing. I just got here to the ranch, and I think before we go through the cows and look everybody over, the first thing that I want to do is move them into their new pasture. They heard me pull in here and they started bawling and kind of walking up to where they know I'm going to move them. So I think things are just going to go a lot easier on both sides if we go ahead and move them now. While we're out here in the field, I want to show you guys the difference between the pasture that the cows were just in and the one that they just went into. This right here is where they just came out of, and if we scoot back under the hot wire, you can see things get real tall over here. Although I've only been trying the mob grazing thing for a short while, I can already see some of the benefits from it, and I think that it's something that I'm going to continue to do. I mean, I'm definitely going to do it through this year just to give it a fair chance. It's a lot more work, there's no doubt about that, but the results kind of speak for themselves. I always like to check cows right after a pasture move. I mean, I check them every day, but I enjoy it more right after I switch pastures, because they're usually more focused on eating and they're not really paying attention to me so much. I can actually just come out here on foot and walk through them and get a little bit better look at them. I want to make sure that I give special attention to the bulls just because I don't own these animals and they're pretty darn valuable. So I always like to make sure that I watch them take a few steps just to make sure that they're walking good. Got to check their eyes, anything else that might jump out at me. If their eyes look good, they're not limping or anything like that, and they look like they've got plenty of weight on them, then I don't have to worry. All right, here's our other Angus bull. He's a pretty good looking boy too. But yeah, when I see him walk like that, he's got a sort of a brisk gait. He's not hurting anywhere. I think both of these guys are doing fine. As the weather heats up, this is going to be the time of year that we'll probably start seeing pink eye in the calves. Telltale signs of pink eye without getting right up to the calf and looking in their eyeball is you'll see just a lot of weeping on the side of their face. They can do that anyway sometimes. That doesn't necessarily mean that they have pink eye, but if you see their eyes watering a lot, that's definitely a good reason to take a better look. The little white-faced calves, it's easy to see that weep. Like this little heifer's got a little bit, but I can see that her eyes are fine. Another thing that you'll look for is instead of them just holding their head normally and having their eyes open normally, a lot of times if they have pink eye, they'll kind of hang their head a little bit and they'll squint their eye, especially the one that has the infection. The reason that they do that, I think, is that pink eye is actually pretty painful to them, and the light from the sun makes it all that much worse. That's why you'll see when people treat bad cases of pink eye, they'll put a patch over that eye. That's not only to keep flies off of it, it's also to keep light off of it. Well, I can't see any problems out here, and I'm not complaining about that. That's what I hope to say. So I think I can leave these girls to their work. They're gonna be out here for 2 days before they move to their next pasture. And I would imagine after 2 days, they're gonna have this picked down pretty clean like they did there on the other side of the wire. Now this is getting about 12 days to recover. So that seems to be doing the trick. Well, that is going to do it for today's animal update. Thanks for hanging out at the ranch with me today, guys, and I hope I'll see you again on Farmer Tyler Ranch.